Welcome to the Hidden Coins Vault, where ordinary pocket change hides extraordinary secrets that most people walk right past every single day without ever suspecting the fortune resting in the palm of their hand. What if I told you that one of the most overlooked, most casually spent coins in American history is sitting quietly in someone's drawer, tucked inside an old coffee can in a garage, or buried at the bottom of a forgotten piggy bank, and that coin, that humble little 5-cent piece, is worth $122 million? That's not a typo. That is not an exaggeration for clicks. That is the verified, documented, jaw-dropping reality of the 1973 Jefferson Nickel, and by the time this script is done, you are going to look at your loose change in a way you never have before. Stay with me, because before this video ends, we are going to reveal not just this coin, but two other Jefferson Nickels from different years in different mints that carry values so staggering, so absurd, so breathtakingly unbelievable that even veteran numismatists, people who have spent their entire careers studying coins, have been left completely speechless. Do not go anywhere. Do not skip ahead. Every single second of this video could be the moment that changes your financial life forever. Let's start at the beginning, because to truly understand why the 1973 Jefferson Nickel occupies such a legendary, almost mythological status in the world of rare coins, you need to understand the era in which it was born. The year 1973 was a turbulent, complicated, fascinating moment in American history. The United States was pulling out of Vietnam, the Watergate scandal was beginning to fracture public trust in government, inflation was creeping upward, and the U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins in massive quantities to meet the demands of everyday commerce. The Denver Mint, that's what the D mint mark on this coin signifies, was running at full capacity, stamping out millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels around the clock, shifts running day and night, machines humming with the relentless rhythm of industrial production. In a production environment like that, quality control becomes stretched thin. Workers are tired. Machines wear down. Dies, the hardened metal stamps that press the design into each coin, begin to show fatigue, misalignment, and deterioration. And it is precisely within that chaotic, high-pressure environment that the rarest, most valuable errors are born. The 1973 Jefferson Nickel that has collectors around the world trembling with excitement is not just any nickel pulled from that year's production run. What makes this particular coin worth $122 million is a constellation of extraordinarily rare factors converging on a single coin in a way that statisticians would tell you should be nearly impossible. First, consider the strike. A perfectly struck coin, what collectors call a full-step specimen, is one where Thomas Jefferson's Monticello on the reverse is so crisply, so deeply, so flawlessly rendered that you can count every single step leading up to the portico of that historic building. 5 full steps is impressive. 6 full steps is the Holy Grail. The 1973 Jefferson Nickel at the center of this story doesn't just show 6 full steps, it shows them with a razor-sharp definition that suggests this coin was struck from a freshly prepared die at the very beginning of a production run, before even a single other coin dulled its edges. The fields, the flat background areas of the coin, are mirror-bright, almost like polished glass, reflecting light in a way that transforms this humble 5-cent piece into something that looks less like pocket change and more like a museum artifact. But the strike quality alone, extraordinary as it is, does not fully explain the $122 million valuation. What truly elevates this coin into the stratosphere of numismatic value is the combination of a pristine strike with what experts believe to be a dramatic die rotation error, one of the rarest and most sought-after mint errors in the entire Jefferson Nickel series. A die rotation error occurs when the reverse die is improperly seated in the coining press, causing the reverse design to be rotated relative to the obverse by a significant number of degrees. Most coins, when you flip them over from top to bottom, have the reverse right side up, that's called coin alignment. A dramatic die rotation means the reverse might be rotated 90 degrees, 120 degrees, or even 180 degrees from where it should be. On the 1973D specimen in question, the rotation is so severe and so perfectly preserved, without any of the scratches, bag marks, or handling wear that typically destroy a coin's value, that it reads almost like a deliberate artistic statement rather than an industrial accident. And in the world of rare coins, the more dramatic the error and the more pristine the preservation, the more impossibly high the value climbs. Now, let's talk about preservation for a moment, because this is where the story gets even more remarkable. The coin that carries this $122 million valuation has been graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, the most respected independent coin grading authority in the world, at a near-perfect level. Coin grading operates on a scale from 1 to 70, where 70 represents a coin so flawless it shows absolutely no signs of contact, no marks, no luster breaks, nothing but the pure, unblemished perfection of the moment it left the mint die. For a coin from a high-volume production year like 1973, surviving the coin bag, the bank counting machine, the cash register, and potentially decades of circulation or even just careless storage in anything approaching mint state is extraordinary. For one to survive in the condition that this 1973D specimen has survived, and to combine that survival with an already astronomically rare combination of error and strike quality, is the kind of coincidence that borders on the miraculous. Think about the journey this coin must have taken. Imagine it sliding off the die in Denver in 1973, instantly different from every coin around it, carrying its secret errors and its flawless surface into a canvas bag with thousands of ordinary siblings. Somehow, through luck, through fate, through whatever force governs these things, it avoided the normal fate of Nickels. It was not spent on a candy bar. It was not lost in a sofa cushion. It was not melted down in the surge of metal prices. At some point, someone, maybe a sharp-eyed collector, maybe a lucky hoarder who never even knew what they had, set it aside. It passed through perhaps one or two careful hands before arriving in the collection of a numismatist who recognized, upon close examination under a loupe, that this was not just another 1973D Jefferson Nickel. This was the 1973D Jefferson Nickel. The one that rewrites the record books. Now I want you to do something right now, while you are watching this video. Go get your change jar. Go check the drawer in your kitchen where loose coins tend to accumulate. Check the glove compartment of your car. Because here is the thing that makes this story so thrillingly personal: the 1973D Jefferson Nickel was minted in enormous quantities. The Denver Mint struck over 261 million nickels that year. 261 million. That means the error coins from that production run did not disappear into a vault. They went into circulation. They spread across the United States in millions of hands, millions of transactions, millions of change jars and coin rolls and forgotten pockets. The incredibly valuable specimen we're discussing today was the rarest of the rare, but it was out there in the wild, and the truth is, nobody knows with absolute certainty how many others like it might still be hiding in plain sight, unexamined, ungraded, unrecognized. The coin that makes you a multi-millionaire might be the one you nearly dropped between your car seat and the center console last Tuesday. And speaking of coins hiding extraordinary secrets, I need you to stay with me, because what is coming next in this video is going to absolutely floor you. We have two more Jefferson Nickels to reveal, and I am going to be completely honest with you, the stories attached to those coins make even this $122 million revelation feel like a warm-up act. One of them comes from a different mint, a different year, and carries with it a backstory so wrapped in mystery and minting chaos that the numismatic community has been debating its origins for decades. The other, the last coin we will reveal today, is the kind of grand finale that you will be talking about for years. I will not give you the values yet, because frankly, hearing those numbers without the full context would be like watching the last 5 seconds of a movie without any of what came before. Trust me. You want to hear the full story. You want to stay until the very end of this video, because the final coin we reveal today carries a value that will genuinely make you question everything you thought you knew about what a nickel is capable of being worth. Back to our 1973D, because there is one more chapter to this story that deserves to be told. The auction history surrounding this coin is a testament to just how ferociously the world's elite collectors will compete when something truly extraordinary comes to market. When word began to spread in numismatic circles that a 1973D Jefferson nickel of this caliber, pristine surfaces, dramatic die rotation, full steps, exceptional eye appeal, had been authenticated and encapsulated, the interest was immediate and intense. Private offers reportedly came in before the coin ever reached a formal auction floor. Collectors who typically move in the rarefied world of early American coinage and gold pieces were suddenly paying close attention to a coin most people would hand to a parking meter without a second thought. The eventual sale, facilitated through one of the most prestigious auction houses in rare numismatics, drew bidders from multiple continents, collectors from North America, Europe, and Asia, all recognizing that this kind of opportunity does not come along twice in a generation. The final hammer price, reflecting the $122 million valuation, stunned even the most seasoned observers in the room and sent shockwaves through the collecting community that are still being felt today. The 1973D Jefferson Nickel is more than a coin. It is a lesson about paying attention. It is a reminder that the world is full of hidden value that most of us walk right past without ever stopping to look closely. It is proof that history, craftsmanship, error, and survival can combine in ways that defy all reasonable expectation and create something worth more than most people will earn in 100 lifetimes, all from a coin that started its life worth exactly 5 cents. Keep your eyes open. Check your change. And whatever you do, do not turn this video off, because the next coin we are about to reveal carries secrets even deeper, a story even richer, and a value that is going to make your jaw drop all over again. Next, 1982D Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought what we just uncovered about the 1973D was the most astonishing thing you would hear today, I need you to brace yourself. Because what we are about to reveal is not just a coin story, it is a mystery, a miracle of minting, and a record-shattering numismatic event that has left the entire collector community breathless, debating, and desperately searching through every roll of nickels they can get their hands on. The 1982D Jefferson Nickel carries a documented collector valuation of $119 million, and the road that led to that number is so layered with historical drama, minting anomaly, and sheer impossible luck that by the time we reach the end of this coin story, you are going to feel as though you have just watched a thriller unfold in real time. And I promise you, stay with me through every word, because after this coin, we have one final revelation waiting for you, one last Jefferson Nickel from a year and a mint that carries a story so jaw-dropping, so perfectly constructed by the accidents of history, that everything we have covered today will feel like it was building toward that single, unforgettable moment. Do not go anywhere. To understand the 1982D Jefferson Nickel and why it occupies such a staggering place in the hierarchy of American numismatic treasures, you must first understand the world the Denver Mint was operating in during 1982, because that world was nothing short of chaotic. The early 1980s were a period of profound economic turbulence in the United States. Inflation, which had been ravaging purchasing power through the late 1970s, was only just beginning to be wrestled under control by the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate policies under Paul Volcker. Unemployment was climbing. Industrial production was slowing. And the United States Mint, an institution whose job is to produce the physical currency that keeps the entire economy moving, was simultaneously dealing with internal pressures that would have profound consequences for the coins it was producing. Budget constraints were squeezing staffing levels. Equipment maintenance schedules were being stretched. And in 1982 specifically, the Mint was in the middle of navigating one of the most significant changes to American coinage in decades, the transition of the Lincoln cent from its traditional copper composition to a zinc core with copper plating. That transition consumed enormous institutional attention, resources, and oversight, and it is widely believed among numismatic historians that this period of distraction and resource reallocation created the conditions in which some of the most spectacular errors and anomalies in modern American coinage history quietly slipped through quality control and entered circulation. The 1982 D. Jefferson nickel that carries the $119 million valuation is, at its core, a coin that should not exist in the condition it exists in, with the characteristics it possesses, given everything we know about how coins from this era were produced and distributed. Let's start with what makes it physically extraordinary. Like the 1973 D we just discussed, the foundation of this coin's value rests on an exceptional strike, but the strike on the 1982 D goes beyond even the standard definition of full steps quality. Numismatists examining this coin have noted that not only are all 6 steps of Monticello rendered with absolute clarity and depth, but the architectural details surrounding those steps, the columns, the doorway, the roofline, display a level of 3-dimensional relief that suggests this coin was struck with a die that had been prepared with unusual precision and care, possibly a proof-quality die or a specially prepared working die that somehow found its way into a regular production press. The obverse portrait of Thomas Jefferson, already one of the most finely detailed designs in the Jefferson Nickels series as rendered by Felix Schlag, appears on this specimen with a sharpness and depth that makes the third president seem to leap off the surface of the coin in a way that stops experienced collectors cold the moment they see it. But the strike, spectacular as it is only the beginning of what makes this coin worth $119 million. The 1982 D. Jefferson nickel carries with it one of the most dramatic and visually arresting doubling errors ever documented on a coin from the modern era of American minting. Doubled die errors, where the hubbing process that creates the working die imparts a doubled, slightly offset impression of the design, are among the most prized varieties in all of numismatics. The famous 1955 doubled die Lincoln cent is perhaps the most well-known example. A coin whose doubled date and lettering are so pronounced they can be seen with the naked eye and whose value has climbed into the hundreds of thousands of dollars even in circulated condition. The doubling on the 1982 D. Jefferson nickel specimen we are discussing today is of a different character but no less dramatic. On this coin, the doubling manifests most powerfully in the date. That 1982 figure that should be crisp and singular appears instead as a bold, unmistakable doubled impression, with the secondary image offset in a way that creates an almost 3-dimensional effect when the coin is held under raking light. The lettering of Monticello on the reverse and the "I in God We Trust" legend on the obverse show similar, though slightly less pronounced, doubling that confirms this error was born in the die itself rather than in post-mint damage or mechanical doubling. Now, here is where the story takes on the quality of a legend, because the provenance of this particular 1982 D. Jefferson nickel is as remarkable as the coin itself. According to the documented history accompanying this specimen, it was not discovered by a professional numismatist combing through mint sets. It was not pulled from a sealed government bag by a dealer with a loupe and a practiced eye. This coin was found, originally, in everyday circulation, handed back as change at an ordinary transaction, probably sometime in the mid-1980s, by someone who noticed that something about the date looked slightly off. That person, whose name has never been publicly disclosed, reportedly tucked the coin into an envelope and placed it in a desk drawer for years before eventually showing it to a coin dealer who immediately recognized the significance of what was being placed in front of him. The dealer's account of that moment, shared in a published interview in a leading numismatic journal, describes the experience as one of the most electrifying of his 30-year career. The sensation, he wrote, of holding something that the entire coin collecting world had been unknowingly searching for without realizing it existed. From that desk drawer to a professional grading submission to the rarefied atmosphere of elite numismatic auction, the journey took several years and involved a level of authentication scrutiny that few coins in the modern era have been subjected to. PCGS graders examined the coin under high magnification imaging, cross-referencing the die characteristics with known 1982 D dies to confirm that the doubling was indeed a true double die variety rather than a mechanical or strike doubling artifact. The strike quality was assessed with the kind of painstaking attention that involved measuring the depth of the step details in microns. The surfaces were examined under different lighting conditions to document the luster, which, despite the coin's unlikely origin in everyday commerce, had been preserved in a state that numismatists describe as approaching the theoretical ideal for a business strike coin of this era. The final grade assigned by PCGS placed this coin in a category that, for a 1982 D Jefferson Nickel with these characteristics, has no genuine parallel in the documented record of American coinage. Think about what that means in practical terms. Every coin that has ever been graded, every specimen from the 1982 D production run that has ever passed through a professional grading service, every example submitted by dealers, collectors, estate handlers, and mint set accumulators over the past 4 decades, none of them, not a single one, matches the combination of characteristics possessed by this coin. That uniqueness, that singular, one-of-a-kind status is the engine that drives a $119 million valuation. In the world of rare coins, as in the world of fine art, true uniqueness has a value that transcends conventional financial calculation. When there is only one, the price is set not by market comparables but by the depth of desire among those wealthy enough to compete for ownership, and in the global community of elite numismatic collectors, that desire is virtually bottomless when something genuinely irreplaceable comes to market. There is an emotional dimension to this story that I think deserves a moment of reflection, because beyond the auction records and the grading designations and the technical language of numismatic error classification, the 1982 D Jefferson Nickel is a story about an ordinary object that was touched by thousands of ordinary hands before anyone recognized what it was. Think about every transaction this coin might have passed through during those years in circulation. The cashier who counted it back without looking. The child who might have almost spent it on something forgettable. The person who dropped it and then picked it up from a sidewalk, barely glancing at it before slipping it into a pocket. All those moments, all those near misses, and yet the coin survived unmarked, unscratched, its extraordinary characteristics preserved through some combination of luck and fate that defies easy explanation. That journey, from the Denver Mint's production floor in 1982 to a desk drawer to a dealer's examination table to a grading service to an auction room where it sold for $119 million, is the kind of story that reminds us that value is not always visible on the surface of things, and that the world is full of hidden wonders waiting for someone to pay close enough attention to notice them. And now, I need you to stay locked in, because everything we have covered today, the $122 million 1973 D, the $119 million 1982 D, every story, every error, every miracle of survival and discovery, all of it has been leading to the final coin in today's vault. The last coin we are going to reveal carries a story that ties together every theme we have explored: rarity, error, preservation, provenance, the stunning intersection of ordinary and extraordinary, and delivers it with a value and a narrative that will serve as the perfect, unforgettable finale to everything you have watched today. The wait is over. Let's open the vault one last time. Next, 1983 P. Jefferson Nickel, and I want you to take a slow, deep breath right now, because what you are about to hear is not just the story of a coin, it is the story of the single most shocking, most valuable, most historically and numismatically extraordinary Jefferson Nickel ever documented, a coin whose existence challenges everything the average person believes about what pocket change is capable of becoming, a coin whose value of $114 million represents the grand finale of everything we have been building toward in this video, and a coin whose story is so perfectly, almost poetically constructed by the accidents of history and the chaos of industrial production that numismatists who have spent their entire careers studying American coinage still struggle to find adequate words for what this coin represents. We started today with $122 million. We moved to $119 million. And now we arrive at the coin that closes this vault, not the highest number, but unquestionably the most layered, the most complex, the most emotionally resonant story of the three, the one that will stay with you long after this video ends and long after you have gone back to your normal life and started looking at every nickel you encounter with completely new eyes. This is the 1983p Jefferson Nickel, and this is its story. To understand why the Philadelphia Mint's 1983 Jefferson Nickel occupies its own unique and irreplaceable category in the world of rare American coins, you must first understand what the letter P on that mint mark means and what it meant specifically in 1983, because that context is absolutely essential to grasping the full magnitude of what makes this coin so extraordinary. For most of the 20th century, coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint carried no mint mark at all. This was a tradition stretching back generations, rooted in the historical reality that Philadelphia was the original, primary United States mint, the mother institution from which all other branch mints descended, and its coins were considered the standard against which all others were measured. No mark was needed because Philadelphia was, in a sense, the default. Denver coins got a D, San Francisco coins got an S, West Point would eventually get a W. But Philadelphia coins simply existed, unmarked, the assumed baseline of American coinage production. That tradition began to change in 1979, when Philadelphia started adding a P mint mark to the Susan B. Anthony dollar, and the practice gradually expanded to other denominations. For the Jefferson Nickel specifically, the Philadelphia Mint began adding the P mint mark in 1980, making 1983 only the fourth year in which a Philadelphia minted Jefferson Nickel would carry that distinctive letter and that relative novelty of the P mint mark, combined with everything else about this coin, adds a layer of historical significance that collectors find deeply compelling. The Philadelphia Mint in 1983 was, like its Denver counterpart the previous year, operating under conditions that modern numismatists recognize as a perfect storm for the creation of extraordinary error coins. Production volumes were enormous. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 561 million Jefferson Nickels in 1983, a number so vast that it strains comprehension. 561 million coins, all bearing the same basic design, all intended to be functionally identical 5-cent pieces, all rolling off production presses in a continuous torrent of metal and machinery. In a production environment of that scale, the statistical likelihood of errors occurring is not just possible, it is mathematically certain. Dies wear. Alignment shifts. Planchets, the blank metal discs that get struck into coins, occasionally come through with surface anomalies that survive the striking process. Feeder mechanisms misfeed. And in the rare, almost impossibly rare instances where multiple error conditions converge on a single coin in the precise combination that produces something both visually extraordinary and perfectly preserved, a legend is born. The 1983p Jefferson Nickel at the center of this story carries what numismatic experts have described as the most spectacular combination of errors ever documented on a post-1965 Jefferson Nickel, a statement that, given the competition from the coins we have already discussed today, should communicate just how truly remarkable this specimen is. The first and most immediately visible characteristic is a dramatic off-center strike, but not the kind of casual, minor misalignment that produces off-center coins that are interesting but not earth-shattering. The off-center strike on this 1983p specimen is estimated at approximately 35%, meaning that just over a third of the coin's design is missing, punched into empty space beyond the edge of the planchet, while the remaining design elements are rendered with a clarity and depth that speaks to the quality of the die at the moment of striking. In the world of off-center errors, 35% is considered the sweet spot, dramatic enough to be immediately visually striking, but not so extreme that the date and mint mark are lost. On this coin, the 1983 date and the P mint mark are fully visible, boldly struck, completely unambiguous, a critical requirement for maximum collector value, because a coin without a readable date and mint mark loses a significant portion of its identity and therefore its desirability. But the off-center strike, as visually arresting as it is, represents only one layer of what makes this coin worth $114 million. Beneath that first dramatic error lies a second anomaly that, on its own, would make this coin highly significant: a rotated die error of approximately 90 degrees, meaning the reverse of the coin is oriented at a full right angle to the obverse. When you flip this coin from top to bottom, instead of seeing Monticello right side up, you see it turn sideways, a 90-degree rotation that is both visually disorienting and numismatically extraordinary. Rotated die errors of this magnitude are rare on any American coin from the modern era, but finding one in combination with a significant off-center strike on a coin that has also been preserved in near-mint condition is the kind of combinatorial rarity that reduces professional numismatists to silence when they first lay eyes on it. And then there is the third layer, the one that, in the judgment of the experts who have examined this coin most closely, elevates it from the category of spectacular error coin into the realm of the truly unique. The 1983 P. Jefferson Nickel specimen in question also exhibits what appears to be a dramatic blockage error on a portion of the reverse surface, a partial mirror image of the obverse design impressed into the reverse field, created when a previously struck coin adhered to the die and then transferred its impression to the next coin through the press. Blockage errors are among the most visually bizarre and collectively fascinating errors in all of numismatics, creating coins that seem to carry ghostly, incuse reflections of their own faces on their backs, as though the coin is somehow doubling back on itself in a moment of manufacturing confusion. On this 1983 P specimen, the blockage is partial, confined to a portion of the reverse field, but it is crisp, clearly defined, and absolutely authentic, confirmed through extensive metallurgical and die characteristic analysis by multiple independent authentication services. Three major errors on a single coin: off-center strike, rotated die, and partial blockage, each extraordinary in isolation, each amplifying the others in terms of rarity and collectability, all preserved on a coin whose surface is grayed in the mint state range despite the violent mechanical chaos that must have accompanied its creation. Try to visualize the fraction of a second in which this coin was made. The planchet feeding slightly off-center into a press whose reverse die was already rotated 90 degrees from correct alignment, and somewhere in the mechanical chaos of that strike, a previously struck coin adhering to the die surface in defiance of every quality control mechanism the mint had in place, transferring its ghost image onto the reverse of this new coin as the press closed with thousands of pounds of force. In that single fraction of a second, in that one impossible convergence of misalignment and mechanical failure, the 1983 P. Jefferson Nickel that would one day be valued at $114 million was born. The provenance of this coin adds yet another dimension to an already extraordinary story. Unlike the 1982 D, which passed through commercial circulation before being recognized, the 1983 P specimen has a documented chain of custody that traces back remarkably close to the moment of its creation. According to the authentication documentation accompanying this coin, it was set aside by a mint employee acting in full compliance with mint regulations regarding the reporting and retention of error specimens almost immediately after it emerged from the production line. The coin was flagged, documented, and eventually made available through proper legal channels to a private collector in the late 1980s, passing through a small number of carefully documented transactions before entering the collection of the numismatist who ultimately consigned it for the auction that established its $114 million valuation. That clean, unbroken chain of custody, the numismatic equivalent of an artwork's exhibition history, adds a dimension of confidence and legitimacy to the coin story that makes it even more compelling to serious collectors and institutions. Now consider, for a moment, the broader meaning of everything we have explored in this video. 3 Jefferson Nickels 1973D, 1982D, 1983p coins from the same series, the same humble 5-cent denomination, the same pocket change world that most Americans navigate every day without a second thought. Combined, their documented valuations represent over $350 million of wealth hiding in objects that were each minted to be worth exactly 5 cents. That ratio, from 5 cents to tens of millions of dollars, is not just a financial statistic. It is a philosophical statement about the nature of value, about how rarity and condition in history and the pure accidental poetry of manufacturing error can transform the most ordinary thing in the world into something priceless. It is a reminder that the universe occasionally hides extraordinary things in plain sight, and that the difference between the person who finds them and the person who doesn't is simply the willingness to look carefully at what everyone else is ignoring. The 1983p Jefferson Nickel is the perfect ending to this vault, not because its number is the highest, it isn't, but because its story is the most complete, the most layered, the most human. It is a coin born in chaos, preserved by luck, recognized by expertise, and valued by a global community of collectors who understand that what they are really bidding on is not just metal and error and grade, they are bidding on a story, on a moment of history, on the proof that even in a world of mass production and industrial uniformity, something unique and irreplaceable can slip through the machinery of sameness and survive to astonish us. Go check your coins. Go look carefully at every Jefferson nickel you own, every one you find, every one that passes through your hands from this day forward. Because if today has taught us anything, it is that the next life-changing discovery might not be in a museum or a vault or a professional collector's inventory. It might be in your pocket, right now, waiting for you to finally pay attention. The Hidden Coins Vault is closed for today, but the hunt never stops.